Hi there, it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. I am starting off with my usual 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, and I have another piece of paper here 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches, which in a second I'm going to cut down to be about 3 3/4 by 5.5 inches. So I just cut a little bit off the side because this is going to be a panel that runs down the front. Now today's card design is a very basic design using very minimal supplies. It uses a couple of inks, one die and one stamp. And that is how I kind of want it to be, because you can leave it as is, as I have the card today, or you can dress it up a whole lot more and add to it if you want to. But this is a very versatile design and it's so easy to do. So I'm going to start off here. I have this stacking square die set here. Now actually, now that I think of it, I was actually tricking before. This uses 2 dies but of the same shape and of the same set. So I'm just choosing 2 of the smaller ones and I want to line them up down the front of my panel. So the way that I line up dies and get them die cut perfectly is I die cut out a few of the shape beforehand, and I'm sorry that they're in white here so it's really hard to see on the white panel, but I die cut out all of the shapes. Then I put them in place where I want to cut my dies from, and I just use a little bit of removable adhesive. Now I really like the Tombow removable adhesive. I will link it in the description box down below, but anything with just a tiny bit of tack will work. Even just a tiny little bit of blue tack on the back of these would work fine. Now what I'm going to do is put them all in the places exactly where I want to go. And then when I want to die cut them and I have them all set out there, kind of waterfall scattered down the front of my panel, all I do is just take the dies that I want to cut and kind of fit them over top of that already pre-cut die there. Now it will die cut through this perfectly with no problems at all, because the cutting part of the die is directly in contact with the paper. It hasn't got another layer in between them, so it will cut perfectly fine. So I just put these 2 dies on, one of each size, and run them through, and then you can see there that there's the 2 squares, the one that I put down to get my placing right, and then the one that I have just cut. So I'm not going to use these squares for this project, but I always keep them because either me or my daughter will usually use them in a project later on. So I'm just going to repeat this process over and over again until I have all of those squares cut out. So I just fit them over like a little puzzle piece, and then you'll feel them kind of fit into place and they don't wiggle anymore. Then I just add a tiny little bit of low tack tape, and that will keep them in place nicely when I send them through my die cutting machine. Now I wanted to have that really slim little border in between some of these shapes, so that was why I went to the effort of putting all those die cuts down first of all, to make sure that I got everything relatively straight and that I didn't accidentally connect up 2 of the squares or something like that. So that is my front panel there, ready to go. I'm going to put this aside for a minute because I don't need to do anything more on this one. What I am going to carry on with is the background piece. Now because this is such a simple design, I want to do my best to create something interesting to look at through that design. Now I'm going to be blending with these oxides here, the Tumbled Glass, Cracked Pistachio, Peacock Feathers and Mermaid Lagoon. Now I'm using oxides, and I'm also going to use them on a piece of Tim Holtz watercolor paper because I find this in particular helps me blend really nicely as well, and particularly in this card design the blending will be able to be seen, so I am using all of the aids that I can to make my blending look good. Now you don't have to add ink here. It would be really cool to just add a piece of pattern paper or a design that you have cut out from a magazine or something like that. You could use anything that could go behind here to create the interest that you need to pull this card together. So anything could go behind there. You could do strips of ribbon, you could do strips of scrap paper, you could use buttons to go behind there, a whole heap of designs that you could add that aren't just necessarily blending on paper. But I'm going to go with blending on paper today. As I said, this is a really simple design and there are lots and lots of ways that you could step this up and make it your own, or follow exactly what I'm doing. Up to you. These are just ideas that hopefully give you a little bit of inspiration for your card making, that it doesn't have to be too complicated and that you can do it with not too many supplies as well. Now, what I really liked about this is the square design that I cut out on the front panel of the card felt like it could have been made by an individual die. It does look like you've planned it out and like you've gone to more effort than just putting down one die, and we have gone to a bit of effort to create that really nice card front. But yeah, I think it looks a little bit more detailed than just cutting out one or two of those shapes, which we could have done too. So I'm nearly at the end of my blending here, and remember that the journey to blending really is a little bit of a journey. Involves kind of going back and forth a fair few times to smooth out those colours and get the seams between the two colours really to be seamless. And at this stage I'm pretty happy with what I've created here, so I'm going to stop there for a minute. Now I start by adding some foam tape on the back here. Again, you don't have to do this, but I did want to pop it up just to create a little bit more. And it's about after I had stuck down maybe these first two pieces here, and I thought, yeah, I haven't stamped any sentiment or done anything like that on the front yet, which was my plan. So it's about here I stop and think, yeah, there's still space. I can still stamp where I wanted to originally stamp. So I'm going to turn it over, and then using some VersaFine Clair Morning Mist, which is a favourite colour of mine to use to stamp sentiments because it's just not quite as stark as black ink. I really do like my VersaFine Onyx Black ink for stamping sentiments, but for this case I just wanted it to be toned down just a little bit. And for this card I knew who it was going to, someone special, and it just says for you with a little love heart beside it, and that's all I needed because this person knows exactly what this card is for. Now the love heart is from this very old W+9 stamp set, but I'm sure if you have a look through your stash you'll probably find an extra little love heart or a little flower or a little something that you can add. Lots of stamp sets often have those wee bonus things sitting there ready to go for us, the wee stamps. And the words itself came from the All the Little Things stamp set by Letter It. So I always use that one. That's one of my main favorites. I'm trying to branch out a little bit recently and use some different ones, so I am working on that. I took off half of the release paper from the backing there, and I line it up so that the side with the release paper is the one that I'm pressing down and lining up. Then I press down the side that has the adhesive exposed, and then I just put my little fingers behind it and get the rest of the release paper off, and that way it is all lined up perfectly. Then I've popped it down with some liquid glue onto my card base, and I want to make it really clear that from here you can take this card wherever you want to take it. For me, this is just me showing you the really simple version and what you can do if you don't have a whole heap of things. So I'm going to add some little enamel dots on here just to finish this off, and some of these blues and greens match the colors that are in the background. However, you could really take this wherever you want to, and there are so many options from here. So I hope that this tutorial has kind of inspired you to do that. If you would like to share with me some of the creations that you create that were inspired by this, I would love to see them over on my Facebook page. Is a really good way to show me, and I will have a link to that down in my description box below. Other than that, this is my card for today, guys. Thank you so much for joining me, and I really appreciate all of your love and support. It is amazing. Thank you so much, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks, bye!